back to the spooky kitchen. I am so excited for today. First of all, once again, we have Neens here with us. I feel like she's basically become our spooky kitchen mascot at this point. So today I'm gonna be making my lasagna roll-ups, and they have a spinach artichoke filling on the inside. It's a whole thing, and I'm gonna get into it because we're gonna start making this. But before I do, we're gonna grab ourselves a beverage. If you want to grab yourself a beverage as we're cooking, that's even better. Gotta get my spooky glass. Here we go. Got my spooky skeleton wine glass for the occasion. Anyways, what were we doing? Wine. That's what we're doing. And as I'm getting my wine, I'm gonna mention the sponsor for today's video, which is Bright Cellars, which if you've been around here in Spooky Kitchen before, you may or may not have heard me talk about Bright Cellars because it's like one of my favorite things right now. If you haven't heard of Bright Cellars on my Spooky Kitchen videos before, it is a monthly wine club that basically customizes and matches wines to your unique taste, which is just like the most exciting thing to me. And how Bright Cellars works is you take an online quiz. It's a super easy quiz. So for me, it asks me like what kind of desserts I like and what's my drink of choice. It's like different tastes that I may have and like things that I like. And then after you fill out the quiz, Bright Cellars matches you with wine. So it's tailored to your specific taste. And then from there, it's delivered directly to your door. So you don't even have to go anywhere. You can just answer the door in your robe if you want to. When you open your box, you have these wine education cards in there. And basically each card represents the label on the wine bottle. And then on the other side of the card, that's where it has the different flavors and different food pairings. And it talks a little bit about the wine, which is really fun. And this time around, what did I get? I got a Cabernet Sauvignon. I got a Riesling, a Malbec Bourbon Barrel Red, a Cabernet Franc, a Petit Verdot. And after all of that, and after you drink your wines, you can rate your wines on the Bright Cellars website. And that way they can hone in even more on your taste preferences. So when you get your next box, your wines are even more tailored to your unique taste. All right, so let's pull out a bottle. I think I'm gonna go with the Malbec, the Whistling Arrow Malbec. That's what we're gonna go with. And my favorite thing about Bright Cellars and this whole thing, first of all, the fact that I don't have to go anywhere and pick out wines. And make decisions. Also, I love the whole, like, I don't know, there's like a little bit of a mystery to it. Like I get it and I'm all excited to open it and try it. And then on Christmas Eve, for example, I went over to my mom's house and I brought one of the wines and she was all excited to try it. And I was excited because I hadn't tried that wine before. We had a Malbec. It was really, really, really good. And she took a picture of it and was all like super excited about it. I basically got my whole family turned on to Bright Cellars, but I don't know, I just get all excited about it and nerd out about it. All right, here's the wine that we're drinking. It's called Whistling Arrow, is what it looks like. Our spooky wine glass. Hopefully we don't get any in the spinach that is below or on the chihuahua. All right, so we're gonna try this new wine. Let's have a little sippy sip. Cheers, ghouls and goblins and everybody out there. Cheers to the new year. Oh yeah, if you hear those barking dogs, those are my neighbors' dogs. It's a pleasant experience. Oh, that's gonna be perfect. Also, wanted to let you know that Bright Cellars is giving you guys 50% off your first 6-bottle box, plus a bonus bottle. So that's 7 bottles for 50% off. If you click on the link in my description box, there'll be a link down in my description box where you can get started on the quiz. You can get 50% off your first 6-bottle box plus a bonus bottle without even having to leave your house, which is, I love that part, I'm not gonna lie. So let's get into this recipe. So if you're new here to these types of videos, first of all, I am gluten-free because I have celiac disease. I've been this way. I guess I should say I've had celiac disease, but I'm like, I've been this way for 13 years. I just can't have gluten. It makes me feel real bad. So this recipe is gluten-free, but if you're not gluten-free, don't worry. Just use your regular noodles. Just get the regular lasagna noodles. But if you are gluten-free, these are the lasagna noodles I'll be using. These are my favorite noodles ever. These are the, I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but I'm gonna try. Tinkyada This is the Daiya Lasagna brown rice pasta. I get this at natural grocers. I've also seen it at Whole Foods, but I'm sure you can also get it online. So if I can find it, I'll link it down in the description box. Also, this is a dairy-free recipe, which also freaks people out. So before you go running for the hills, I will say this: if you want to make this with dairy, go for it. Or if you want to add meat, go for it. Do whatever you want to do. Make whatever alterations you want to make to this thing. But the cashews, the cashew ricotta takes it to a whole other level, and to the point where I brought this to potlucks. I brought it to a couple years ago. My friend's parents were having like a lasagna. It was like a friend's dinner. So I brought these lasagna roll-ups and they wanted to try them to see how they were. And they were like, we like these better. Can we take some for leftovers to put in our fridge for tomorrow? So this is like one of those dishes that will blow people's minds who like may otherwise be weirded out by a cashew cheese. I know it weirds people out with the cashew cheese and the cashews in my pumpkin pie, but it doesn't taste like a cashew. It tastes like, I don't know, it's so good. You just gotta try it. You gotta try it. If you don't wanna try it, just use regular ricotta and regular mozzarella. I'm not offended by much, really at all, other than if you insult my dog. Anyway, so what are we doing? All right, let's start with the cheese. I had some cashews soaking for, you want them soaking for at least 4 hours, and actually I got this cashew ricotta cheese recipe. The inspiration is from another website. I will put it down in the description box. It's like a cashew chive ricotta. It's delicious. And it's even better as a dip. You gotta try it. But I put my own spin on it, and I usually don't have chives on hand. And so I decided to make it like a spinach artichoke ricotta. So that's what I'm putting in the filling of our lasagna roll-ups. And I've been soaking these cashews, and this is key, is the soaking part. That's like the difference between it being really good and really gross, is the soaking part. So I soaked 2 cups of cashews for, you want at least 4 hours, I say, but I've been soaking them for like 6 hours. So they're nice and soaked. Definitely don't soak them longer than 2 days, because then they get slimy and weird. It's just for the sake of you, just don't do it. Okay, so this is another long chatty video. Oh no, we don't even have our camera set up for our food. The cashews have been soaking for about 6 hours, so now we're gonna drain them. All right, I have my food processor here. You can also use a blender, maybe. I would say food processor. With a blender, you can blend the cashews, and then when you're adding the spinach and artichokes, I would just chop those up and mix them in by hand, because the blender might over blend them, and you don't necessarily want that. I kind of like them chunky. If you want it smooth, then put it all in a blender and call it a day, but I'll show you what we're about to do. All right, sorry, my husband is sending me chihuahua pictures. It's pictures of chihuahuas climbing trees. And it's the cutest thing I've ever seen in my whole life. Okay, back to our recipe. All the ingredients will be down in the description box for you, because going through all of them is gonna take 300 hours, and I've already talked for at least 200 hours, so I don't wanna be here that long. Okay, so what are we doing? We're gonna put our cashews that are drained, so you don't want the water in there. Put the cashews in the food processor, and I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of garlic. I'm talking about this kind of garlic. I don't know how much that is dry, but just put a bunch of garlic in there and you'll be fine. Garlic never hurt an Italian dish, ever. So we're gonna put that in there. Also some olive oil, 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil. So I've got extra virgin olive oil going on here. And if you don't like to measure, don't do it. I don't usually measure, but I'm doing it here. I know that there's people out there who like the exact measurements. So I'm gonna try real hard to not be my mom right now. Okay. 3 tablespoons apple cider vinegar. By the way, this part, aside from the garlic, the apple cider vinegar, the olive oil, and the cashews, and then the agave that I'm gonna put in here, all that's for the ricotta. So if you're making this with real ricotta cheese, do not put in the apple cider vinegar. I mean, unless you want to. I mean, vinegar is really good in anything, I think. But also my insides are basically pickled at this point, because that's how I was raised. I feel like we've had this conversation before. 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. This part is the ricotta cheese. That's what it's gonna taste like, kinda. That's how you're getting the taste. So if you're using ricotta cheese, there's no need to do this part. And then I'm gonna do a little bit of Vegenaise. I'm gonna do like a big old scoop of Vegenaise, probably like 2 tablespoons, but I don't know, it's just like this spoon. I didn't measure that one out. It's 2 tablespoons. That's what I'm gonna put out there. But you can go a tablespoon at a time. It's just really to make it creamier. And then I'm gonna put a little splash. I don't have, it calls for, the recipe I'm inspired by calls for 1/4 of a cup of soy milk or almond milk. I don't have any milk right now, almond milk, so that's unsweetened. I just do a little splash of water. It works every time, so I'm not gonna do that. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of water in there just to kind of make it a little bit creamier. A tablespoon of agave or maple syrup, or if you're not vegan, you can use honey. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn on my food processor on high. If you're using your blender, turn it on high and let the cashews all break up. It's kind of what we did when we made that pumpkin pie, but not really like that. You'll see. Okay, I'm gonna turn it on. Did the fuse break or something? All right, so we thought the fuse was broken, but really the lid wasn't on all the way. So if you're using a food processor, make sure the lid is on all the way so it will actually turn on. That is my pro tip of the evening. All right, here we go. We're gonna blend it. So while I'm blending this, by the way, I'm going to turn on my stove because we forgot to turn the water on. And if you watched Vlogmas, I forgot to turn the water on as well. So I have a huge pot of water over here. I'll bring you over. I'm gonna turn on the burner. We're gonna wait 3,000 years for that to boil. And then in the meantime, we're going to blend this. So every once in a while, make sure you scrape down the sides with a spatula. That's what this is. And it's a spooky spatula at that. My stepmom got me this. I think it's from Williams-Sonoma, but she got me this back for my birthday like a couple of years ago. Or maybe it's Christmas. I don't know, but I love it. So you want to scrape it down because you don't want any crunchies or chunky situations happening. So you gotta scrape it down. That's nice and smooth. This is kind of what it should look like. Let's stick a spatula in it so you can see. It should kind of look like ricotta cheese, kind of, right? So what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna put in some stuff. I'm gonna put in some onion powder, probably a teaspoon-ish, half a teaspoon. I'm putting in a teaspoon. I just put a bunch in. I don't really measure it. I'm gonna put in about I don't really know, probably putting a teaspoon in there of Italian seasoning, and this is just the, I don't know, what is this? It's the McCormick's Italian seasoning. I'm putting in some pepper. How much pepper? About a teaspoon of pepper. And I'm just gonna put in a little bit of salt. Not a whole lot of salt because you definitely, like with the red sauce we're gonna be using, it's gonna be a little salty, so I don't want just a lot of, like just too much salt, like just to be really, really salty. So I'm doing that. And then let's mix this first. We're gonna mix this. Oh, that's good. What I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna put in a cup of frozen spinach thawed. So I measured it out frozen and now it's thawed, so it does shrink up a little bit. I also need to squeeze out the water. Let me do that really quick. So it's a cup of it frozen thawed. So it's probably, I don't know, maybe a half of a cup once you squeeze the water out and stuff. You can put as much spinach as you want in there. If you want it really spinachy, I don't know if that's a word, put in a lot of spinach. Just load it up with spinach. And if you don't want a lot of spinach, don't put any spinach in it. That's fine too, whatever you want to do. Another idea I was going to mention earlier is you can always take onions, spinach, and artichokes or mushrooms or whatever you want to add and cook it up on the stove and make sure you get all the water content out. So make sure everything's evaporated. And then you can add it to the mix if you want to do it that way. There's just a lot of ways you can go about it. I just feel like this is a little bit easier to have this stuff on hand. Like frozen spinach, I always have on hand. Artichokes, I typically always have on hand. So then I'm gonna take a can of quartered artichoke hearts, which I already drained and it ripped my skin off of my finger. So it wouldn't be the spooky kitchen if there wasn't a little bit of gore, I feel like. So I feel like this is definitely living up to the hype. Is it still recording? I can't tell. Okay. I feel like I want to eat one of these artichokes right now, but I'm resisting. My mouth is watering though, if you can hear it. So then what I'm gonna do, oh, not that. I'm going to pulse this. I'm using the pulse function just because I like it chunky. Missing something? Okay. So, oh no, it's perfect, I feel like. All right, so once it's done, it should look like this. It should be nice and chunky. I mean, I even like it chunkier than this usually. I maybe blended it a little too much, but you can still see chunks of artichoke and chunks of spinach. We're still waiting on this water to boil. It's almost there. Then we can put our noodles in. I should have done that before. If you're watching, well, if you're watching, you're watching. But if you're doing this at home, I guess I should say, definitely start boiling the water first and then cook your noodles as you're doing your cheese. That would be probably some good time management skills that I don't have. There's always hope though. It's a new year. We can make it happen. I did get a new wine opener though. Got this rabbit situation. I was gonna get an electric one, but then part of me thinks that this is just too fun. If you don't even want to make the lasagna noodles, you're like, I give up, it's just too much work, this is a dip. Just sit here and eat this. All right, that's boiling full force. We just need to get over there. All right, so I wasn't filming this whole time, but I put the noodles in the water. And the key to this, no, stop. Okay, the key to this, oh my gosh, it's gonna be a whole mess to clean up. You gotta constantly stir them so they don't stick together. That's my tip on this, if you've never made this kind of thing. Okay, 13 to 14 minutes. So 2 minutes less if oven cooking. So I am oven cooking these. All right, we're gonna have another bite of this because this is a mess. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna get out my baking dish or my Pyrex dish situation. This is a 9x13 dish thing, casserole dish. That's what it is. I put some marinara sauce at the bottom of this dish. And I'm using this organic, Simply Nature organic marinara sauce from Aldi. This is a good one. Looks like this. But what I do is I use 2 of these marinara sauces. Actually, it ends up being about 1.5. And then the extra half I keep in my fridge. And what I do is when I reheat my lasagna in the microwave in the next couple days, or even if you reheat it in the oven, it can kind of dry out a little bit. So I just add a little bit more marinara to it. So I'm gonna pour some of this in here and I'm just going to spread it on the bottom of the pan. You just want enough to where the lasagna won't stick, like the roll-ups aren't gonna stick. What I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna drain these noodles and then I'm gonna rinse them with cold water. That's the trick, especially with gluten-free noodles. So cold water onto the noodles. It's gonna stop them from cooking, and with gluten-free noodles, they can get really mushy really quick. So you just wanna make sure you get the cold water on the noodles. All right, so from there, I'm gonna take some parchment paper and I'm gonna lay it down on my surface, just a long piece of parchment paper. Here's our parchment paper. What we're gonna do is we're gonna lay the lasagna noodles onto the parchment paper. We're gonna lay it flat. And also in the meantime, we have our filling ready to go in our little, I'm just leaving it in here. Some mozzarella cheese. I use the non-dairy Daiya mozzarella shreds. These are my favorite. They are terrible raw, but melted, it's delicious. But once again, if you're not doing the non-dairy thing, just get your regular mozzarella cheese. It'll be great. All right, we're gonna lay out our noodles. And if some of the noodles break in the process, do not fret. Just kind of piece them together a little bit. If you gotta Frankenstein the thing, do it, do it. Kind of wanna overlap them if they are broken. That way when you roll them up, it works out. Now that I have my lasagna noodles laid out on my parchment paper, I'm now going to put the filling down. So what I do is I go in with my filling, my ricotta cheese or my cashew ricotta cheese, and I just go in with a fork because I find it's easier to spread. and I just put it on my strip of lasagna noodles, and I just kind of spread it down. I want more than that. I'll load it up. And I'm gonna do the first one in its entirety, and then I just go down the line, but I'm gonna do this one just so you can see what I do. Then I go in with a spoon of marinara. Like, I just take a regular spoon, that's a tablespoon, just spoon it out of my marinara jar. I'm not being picky around here. Put a strip of marinara down the center of that, on top of our filling, and I kind of spread it around. Then I do a layer of cheese. Just sprinkle layer of cheese down there. And then what I do is I just start from the bottom. You can also start from the top if that's easier. And I just start rolling this roll up. And you don't want to roll them too tight, because then, or push them down too much, because then the filling's going to start squeezing out of the sides, and you don't want that. So you just got to be gentle and make sure it's like a roll, like it's not too loose, but it's not too tight to where it's just going to push it all either forward or to the sides, or you just want a good amount of tension there. Then we're gonna come over to our casserole dish. That's what it is. We're just gonna put it in here. And then we just do it all over again. I typically just go in with the filling on each one. Go down, put in the filling on this one, kind of spread it out. Put the filling on the next one, spread it out, and I just try to work quickly but efficiently. Oh God, this isn't very efficient. And these aren't the prettiest looking rolls. It's okay. You don't have to look amazing. I'll just bring it on down. So then I'm gonna go in with the sauce on each one. Just going on down the line. Whoops, got a little messy, that's all right. Smooth it out. Look at this. There we go with our cheese. Go on down the line. I'm going to continue the process, and then I'm going to roll these babies up. Now I'm going to move them over to our casserole dish. And then I'm just gonna repeat the process with the remaining noodles until the casserole dish is filled, and basically the noodles are lined up. That's what I'm doing. And usually one box of lasagna noodles makes one casserole dish full of lasagna roll-ups. All right, next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open this new thing. Uh-oh, this one's not nearly as easy. There we go. We're gonna put some sauce on top. Well, that's what I'll do first. I'll put some sauce on top. Let's do it. And you can just pour it over the top. I'm just gonna pour some sauce. I make sure that I get in between as well. So I make sure it kind of gets down in there. And you can always add more sauce if you need to. But I like to leave the edges out too, because I like the edges to get a little bit, not crispy, you don't want them dry, but I like them to get a little bit harder. If you don't like that, then make sure you cover your entire roll up with sauce. But I kind of like the ends to stick out a little bit. Then I'm gonna put cheese, some shredded mozzarella over the top. This is the dairy-free mozzarella, but like I said before, feel free to use whatever mozzarella your heart desires. And I'm just putting all sorts of cheese. I don't even know how much cheese I'm using. I think I used like a bag and a half, essentially, of this. That's a lot of cheese. 10 ounces of cheese. So now I'm gonna put this in the oven, 350 for about really it's gonna depend. So if you're making this ahead of time, which this is a really good one to make ahead of time. So if you're making this the day before or whatnot, then you're gonna wanna cook it longer because it's gonna be cold. I don't know, you may need like 45 minutes to an hour to cook this. And I'd put foil on top of it to make sure that it's not drying out. At this point, we're just looking to like reheat this and melt the cheese. I would say probably closer to 30 minutes. And if you have foil on it, it's gonna take longer because there's foil on top of it. All right, we're gonna put this in. That means, okay. Then I'm gonna clean up a little bit, and then I'll meet you guys back here when that is all finished, and we'll look at it, try it live on camera, not really. So I'll see you guys when this is done. All right, so it's been about 30 minutes. I'm gonna check on, I checked on it at 20 and it wasn't ready yet. So I'm gonna check on it again at 30 minutes. Here's where we're at. It is definitely done now. It's looking delicious. I cannot wait to try this. All right, so I'm gonna put this on a spooky plate. I have this spooky plate and I have this spooky plate. I couldn't decide, but I'm gonna go with the black because it's my favorite. Here's what a lasagna roll up looks like. The roll isn't as good on this one. Maybe I can clear the way so you can see what the roll kind of looks like. But it looks kind of like that. It's steaming. I don't know if you can see the steam in there, but it looks so good. We're gonna take a bite. It's gonna be really hot, I feel like, but we're gonna let it cool down for a second. Look at that cute little spiderweb plate. Okay, I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. Here we go. Oh man. That cashew ricotta, there's nothing like it. There is nothing like it. If you guys make this, let me know. Tag me on Instagram or just let me know in the comments if you tried it and what you thought of it. My Instagram handle is Jade the Libra, just like on here. It's just so good. I'm gonna get a good night's sleep after this meal. It's so good. And that's why it's my secret weapon. It's just like you think the gluten-free, non-dairy girl is gonna show up to your party or show up to dinner or make something. It's gonna be nuts and berries or just lettuce. Then you show up with this. I have a happy plate. Anyways, that is it for this spooky kitchen video. Hope you enjoyed cooking with me. If you did, you can give it a thumbs up, say hey ghoul, hey down in the comments because you know I love talking to you. Also, let me know down in the comments some of your favorite winter dishes, like your go-to winter meal. Like what makes you feel all warm and cozy inside. Anyways, I am gonna eat more food. So thank you so much for watching and I will see you guys next time.